comfort zone, because I think sometimes we are so stuck with what we're used to that, you know, we become afraid to leap. We become afraid to move out of that comfort zone. How did that comfort zone move impact you thereafter?
You know what's so interesting? This is why it's so important for you to plant good seeds, especially in children. Because I didn't act on that seed she planted until I was married with 2 children.
Oh, wow. How many years was that?
So I would say at least maybe 11 or 12 years later. Graduated high school, went to college for a little bit, got married, had kids. And that voice, I remember, because what was happening was I'm from Austin originally, and they had this program called Capital Idea. And Capital Idea would pay for you to go to school, but you had to go into the medical field or something like that, one of the, you know, top workforce type things, and it was like a government thing, right? And so I went to the orientation, I was excited. I was gonna be a respiratory therapist, right? And so one of the schools was Temple College. This is how I got to this area. And so one of them was Temple College, and I went on the website and I was looking and trying to find out information so I could go to orientation, and across the screen, in big letters, it said music scholarship auditions.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it was like, all of a sudden, I heard her voice. And I was like, and it was one of those moments, right? And I was like, but I don't know how to read music. I stopped doing that. I sang in church and never stopped singing, but all of the technical side of things, I didn't have the education, right? And so I called and I was like, why am I doing this? And on a whim, I went for the scholarship. And I remember going into the room and they said, well, sing a song. And I sang the only song I knew. It was a UIL piece. It was operatic, and I knew I could do that one. It was called My Lord, What a Morning, which was a Negro spiritual. And I sang that, and they were blown away. And then the the interviewer was like, can you scat?
Did you know what scat was?
I knew what scat was because I was always a big jazz fan. I was always listening to people like Sarah Vaughan, Ella Fitzgerald, Billie Holiday. I went and got the original Dreamgirls soundtrack as a little girl and listened to that at like 8 or 9 years old. So I've always been engrossed and loved music and loved all things the arts, but I never tried it.
Yeah.
Child, I scattered for my life that day. Sure did, and they offered me a scholarship on the spot. Not only did they offer me a scholarship, but they got us room and board for me, my husband at the time, and my 2 children. And I started my journey.
Wow.
And got a scholarship to Temple College, got a scholarship to MHB, opened up my school. We've been in business for 8 years now. So that seed though, right? You know, the Bible talks about one comes to plant, the other comes to water, and then there's the harvest, right? So that seed that was planted throughout everything else, throughout all the trash, all the dirt, all the mess, that seed still was planted, and it was growing and fertilizing that entire time, and it came into fruition. So I'm very grateful for my influencer, Miss Lisa Alexander Jenkins, and I tell her every time I see her.
Miss Lisa Alexander Jenkins, if you happen to be watching, you are definitely a destiny helper to Miss Toni Ringgold in terms of planting that seed and getting her to this point, 8 years in business. Now, one of the things that we know about planting good seed, that, you know, it falls on thorny ground, it falls on some fertile ground sometimes, and it definitely, it fell on some good ground, and you were able to take that seed, and I'm sure there were other people who watered it.
Absolutely.
Got a little sunlight somewhere around, but I'm sure there was some thorns.
Oh, yeah.
That there were some thorns that also came up while you were trying to grow and become who you are today. What are some of the challenges that happened in your life that try to snuff out your destiny?
Oh, gosh. So many. My story isn't so unique.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, my story is a story of millions, right? Childhood abuse, childhood molestation, neglect, not having a father. My father was incarcerated since 1988, I believe.
Okay. You were very young when that happened.
It was 18 months. I was born in 86. So,
She is still very young.
yep. So I was born in 86. So he was gone. I never knew what that was like.
Yeah.
To have a dad. And then it's so interesting because, he's getting ready to come home in the next few weeks.
Oh, wow.
After 33 years.
So he's been incarcerated for 33 years. So it happened when you were 18 months.
He was
and so, okay. All right. So before we get to him being released, because I definitely want to talk to you about that. You said that your story is not unique, that, you experienced abuse and neglect, molestation, but you never quit.
You know what? And sometimes I wonder why.
Yeah.
Honestly, but I have to give glory to God, because He has always put something in me. Like, I've had a relationship with God that wasn't brought on or pushed on by family. Even though I grew up in the church, my mom was definitely in the church, singing in the choir, all of those things. Started preaching at age 10, like licensed minister, licensed youth pastor for years. My relationship has always been very, very personal. I gave my life to God when I was 7 years old. And definitely fell off, come back on, but whatever. But at the end of the day, it was always me and him. I remember times being in the room, upset about life, but I could always sing to God. I always had that relationship. And one thing my mom did teach me how to do, she taught me how to pray.
Yeah.
And prayer, a strong prayer life, they always say prayer changes things. No, it's true.
Yeah.
And so I learned how to pray. I learned how to worship. And honestly, I believe and I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, that's the thing that kept me throughout all these years.
Yeah. Wow, wow, wow. If you are just tuning in now, we have been talking to Toni Ringgold. Toni Ringgold, who, again, her resume just speaks for itself. We're here talking to her about overcoming obstacles and how she overcame to be who she is today and who she is still soaring to be, because she's still becoming, right?
Exactly.
We all are. We're still becoming until the day we die. We are still becoming. We are still evolving. We are still growing.
Yes.
And so she's been talking about some of the challenges that she has experienced in her life as well as her career. But she never quit, right? So I dare you, for somebody watching out there today, I know that you may have had some challenges and you may have had some hard knocks in life. We all have. But you got to keep going. You got to keep pushing. You got to keep soaring. That's the only way you're truly going to achieve a purpose-filled life.
Yes.
You can't quit. You have to keep on going.
That's right.
All right? And so, wow, Toni, it's been such a good time talking to you. And a lot of your story I already know, but every time I hear it, I get new nuggets from it. I get new nuggets from it. And so now at you're a teenager, or actually a young adult,
right.
You have a scholarship at UMHB. You're studying music. You want to open up your school. You're married. You have 2 little babies. And so life is great. Life is not great.
No.
Okay. Talk to us about that.
One thing that I think that the social media age has done is it has taught us to live a facade. It has taught us that as long as we have a good selfie with our family, or a good selfie of ourselves, or we can go out and take a vacation, or put the background just right, that everything is okay.
Yeah.
And it's not. There are a lot of things that we have to deal with, and not just continue to move on, because like you said, I didn't quit.
Yeah.
So in not quitting, what does that mean? That means you get knocked down, you get back up, and you keep going, right? But what about when you take a Band-Aid and you're trying to put it on an open wound? And you're trying to you get knocked down, you're injured, now you're walking with a limp.
Yeah.
Right? But you're still going. Now this arm is broken, but you're still moving,
still
right? Your face is bruised up, but you're still going. At this point, you're dragging yourself, trying to keep going instead of taking time to heal.
Yeah.
We live in a society that tells us if we're not doing the next best thing, that we're not good enough, and that's just a lie. That's a lie from the enemy, because even when we look in Genesis, God even rested. There has to be a point where you take some time to rest, rejuvenate, and heal yourself. And allow the Lord to heal you so that you can be effective. So what happens when a broken person gets married? When a child gets married, because truly I was young. I met my ex-husband when I was 17 years old. He was my first everything. We got married when I was 20 years old, had a baby, and boom, kids. And both of us were young. We knew nothing about marriage. We knew nothing about function. We knew nothing about how to function. We didn't have examples of what a godly marriage was supposed to be like. We probably, without of course, my kids, I wouldn't trade them for the world. We had no business getting married in the first place.
Yeah, you said a couple of mouthfuls. A couple of mouthfuls. She said when a broken person gets married, when a child gets married, when somebody who hasn't had good examples, right, get married, when somebody who really don't know what they're doing in life or just trying to make it when they get married. So now you're talking about being wounded, being broken.
Yes.
You're trying to find who you are.
Absolutely.
You're trying to be a wife to somebody who he's trying to find out who he is himself. And so you got two broken vessels coming together to do what?
To break each other.
Jesus.
And see, that's the thing that we don't talk about. So in ministry, right? Mind you, I was in ministry, okay? So here it is, I'm in ministry. I have this boyfriend that I'm with, right? The first time he proposed to me, look at the first time, y'all, the first time he proposed to me was after the Passion of the Christ. Do you remember that movie?
I remember that movie. That's such a gruesome movie.
He's probably watching this right now, but anyway, after Passion of the Christ, like, why are you, okay, Jesus, I just seen him get cut up and everything, and I was in there crying, and then all of a sudden he drops to a knee, and I'm 17 years old, a senior in high school, walking around with a diamond engagement ring on my finger, right? And so, when you're in ministry, oftentimes when you're a single, it's almost like you have this red stain on your forehead.
Yeah.
It's really important, and I'm gonna say this to all leaders in ministry. Do not make singles feel like if they are single, something is wrong.
Yeah.
Because what happens is people go and they get into these marriages and they get into these relationships and they go and they get married because they want to appear right before the Lord and they want to be accepted in the church. And they are marrying for the absolute wrong reason.
Right, they're marrying for the facade of it.
The facade.
And you said something that's so poignant, Toni, because when we had the singles panel here, that is something that they have said as well, that, you know, as a single, there's a pressure.
Oh, yeah.
There's a pressure to get married so you could be right.
Yep.
And one of the things that I have said when we had the marriage panel here is marriage is not designed to make you happy, but it is designed to keep you holy.
That's right.
Right? And so truly understanding what you're getting into when you say I do, because after you say I do, you find out what you really did.
So now you're with this person and you're growing and you're growing and you're growing up and you're finding yourself and you're realizing this is not the person that I was supposed to be with.
Yeah.
Right? And then things become toxic. And then things become volatile. And because we both were in dysfunction, there were a lot of things that happened in our marriage that wasn't supposed to happen. So at a point, I said, you know what? Enough is enough. And we divorced, right? Now, here's where the real test came. And this is probably the test of my life. I didn't know how to be by myself.
See, you have to say that again because there are so many people who don't understand why they go from relationship to relationship to relationship to relationship.
I didn't know how to be by myself because all I ever was a wife. Think about it. I spent all of my 20s, from 20 to 30, I was a married woman. That's all, and I was a mother. And I had a partner. I didn't know Toni, Antonia, which is my name, at all.
Yeah.
I didn't know her. I operated in capacities, right? So I operated as a mother. I love my children. I operated as a wife. That's what I did. I operated as a singer. But the actual me, when you take all of that away, who are you? Right. I didn't know her. And I wasn't comfortable with being alone with her, right?
Because she was still that broken 17-year-old.
She was still that broken little girl that got hurt. She was that little girl that was molested. She was that little girl that wasn't protected. She was that little girl who was angry. She was that little girl who was misunderstood. She was that little girl that was peculiar and didn't fit in. Yeah. And I didn't like that one. So when I was married, there was a safety in that because despite all of those flaws, somebody still wanted me. Yeah. So what do you do when now you're all alone and you have to face yourself? Well, if you're not equipped and not mature enough to really delve into that, you go jump into another relationship. Yeah. And that relationship that I jumped into almost took my life.
Wow. Talk to us about that. We have a few minutes before we take a break. And so I want you to talk to us about get into that low point, and then we'll come back on how you overcame.
Yeah. So that was a low. Yeah. And around that time, that's when you and I met. Yeah. And I remember being so inspired by you because you had overcome domestic violence, right? So what happens when you're strong and abused, right? Because when everybody looks at me, they see this strong woman, they see this powerful person, which I am all of those things. They see this dominant personality, they see this woman not taking no mess from nobody, but not realizing what I was going through behind closed doors. Yeah. And you, similarly, you were the news anchor. You had all of these things going for yourself. You were, your family on paper looked amazing. The family pictures were beautiful, right? Me and this person, our pictures, our selfies were gorgeous. We were a beautiful couple, right? But I was being torn down. Yeah. Mentally, emotionally, physically, sexually, in ways that I had never experienced before. And I didn't know who I was. I remember probably my lowest point was when I got up in the morning and I looked into the mirror, and no, he never bruised my face or anything like that, but I physically did not recognize myself. And I couldn't seem to find, it was almost like I was trying to reach me again, but it was dark. I was trying to find me, and I couldn't. And that place is a very low place, and it's a very lonely place. But one thing that you said, and I don't know if you know, I think I've told you. I was talking to you about it. I was telling you where I was at. Because this person had been through so much, lost their mother and father, didn't have anybody in their life, didn't know, they hadn't experienced love. I was trying to love a broken person. Here I was repeating that cycle, right?
Because you were so broken yourself.
I was so broken myself, so I saw so much of me in him that I wanted to fix it, right? And I remember one thing you told me. You said, Toni, you said, you don't deserve any of this that you're going through. And you said, but whatever you do, I'm here for you. And that was what I needed. From that day, and I say this to say, and I hope that somebody is really listening to me right now. You can see someone going through domestic violence, and you can find yourself being so frustrated because you don't understand how they are still in that situation. How are you still going through this cycle? You were a social worker and was going through it, right? It is such a psychological thing that you wouldn't understand unless you have been there. Please do not turn your back on somebody who is going through domestic violence. You might not get intervened because maybe they're not ready to go, but please be there and be available when they are, because I guarantee you they don't want to stay there forever. And so with that, when you told me that, it was a key for me. It was like that key that unlocked that door, right? So that the door started opening and I started finding myself. That light came back. I'm Toni Ringgold. You get what I'm saying? What am I doing? Wait, hold up. Who are you talking to? See, all of that started coming and that fight started coming back, right? within me, because I've always been a fighter. And I'm like, no, I've gone through too much. If I can leave my husband, who I was with for 13 years, married 10, I can definitely leave you. And the day that I said enough was the day that he tried to kill me.
Wow. Wow.
Yep.
Wow. Wow.
Yes.
Wow, wow. Well, we've been here talking to Toni Ringgold, and I am so glad that I was able to speak into your life and impact you on that day, and really watch how God has continued to envelope you and how he hid you in those dark times. And you were still performing.
Still doing everything. Nobody
still
knew.
Performing.
Nobody knew. Everybody thought everything was great.
Yeah.
And you know that. And it's so interesting, the devastating blow when you tell people, oh no, we're no longer together. What?
Yeah.
You know, because because what they see is the Facebook photos.
Yeah.
They see the smiles. They see the family time. And you know, for me, I think the thing that kept me with him was because how much he was good to my kids.
Yeah.
When we fought, it was always behind closed doors, like that. I think you had a play called that.
Yes.
It was always behind closed doors. It was always muffled fussing and going in the closet and arguing. It was never anything in front of the kids. And so I felt like, well, my kids need somebody because their dad is not around right now. And he's in another city. And, you know, we're at each other's throats. This guy comes in like a knight in shining armor, and really, you know, was completely the opposite.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. And so we've been talking to Toni Ringgold, as you have heard before. She talked about her experiences, her challenges from childhood to a broken marriage, and then a toxic relationship where she found herself at the absolute rock bottom.
Yes.
Looking in the mirror, not recognizing who she is. So make sure you share this with a friend. This is a story that definitely will help you yourself overcome. If you are sitting out there and you're watching us and you happen to be a victim of abuse, any type of abuse, there is help for you. Please call the 1-800-ABUSE hotline. You can call us over here at Open Fire International Fellowship Church as well, and somebody will pray for you or direct you to the abuse hotline or wherever it is that you need to go.
Yes.
We're going to take a short break and hear from one of our sponsors, and then we will be right back. Toni, thank you so much for joining us. I have really enjoyed this first half talking to you.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I'm going to share this on my social media. Welcome back. I am your host, Minister Carrie Ann Zamore, and thank you so much for joining us on this Overcomers Talk. Our special guest has been Toni Ringgold, and we're talking about overcoming obstacles. In the first half, Ms. Ringgold shared her testimony of all the challenges that she experienced as a young child, to a broken marriage, to a toxic relationship. When we left in the first half, she shared that she was at her absolute bottom when she realized that she was strong and it was time to get up and soar. And so if you're joining us for this second half, make sure you share this with a friend. Somebody needs to hear the story because they will definitely be inspired by it. All right, Toni. Oh my gosh. I am just so I'm so excited to hear, because again, every time I hear your story, I hear different nuggets. And when I look at you, I see how strong you are, how brave, and I cannot imagine you at a low point. Although I remember your low point, but I have seen what God has done with you and what He continues to do with you, and how you continue to soar. So you're at this low point, you're looking in the mirror, you're like, oh no, this is not for me. How do you get up? I know somebody out there who has experienced something similar says, okay, well, how did you get up? What was the practical steps of getting up?
Well, first of all, stop hiding.
Yeah.
The reason why we stay in bad situations is because we are afraid of what would happen, what people would think of us, how we will be perceived if we tell the truth.
Yeah.
The Bible is very, very truthful when it says the truth shall make you free. And so freedom comes in being honest with yourself and having the courage to be honest with others. And so the first step was acknowledging that there was something wrong, and then saying, you know what, I'm gonna do something different. And so, like I said, the day that I was done was the day I almost lost my life.
Yeah.
It's still tough to talk about because I've never been in a situation like that before.
Yeah.
What I will tell you is when I was fleeing out of my home, me and my children, I know that
You were fleeing from your own home.
I was fleeing from my own home.
Wow.
I was, okay, so, because somebody needs to hear it.
Yeah.
I was done. And I told him I was done. He dealt with alcoholism, and he was supposedly was saying that he had stopped drinking, but he was closet drinking. That day in particular, I felt a real need to get home. Usually my kids, he would be at the house. The kids would, come home on the bus. My daughter, she would go to the school that I worked at through the after-school program. My boys would come home, right? But for some reason, I just felt this weird feeling like I needed to get home. And so I canceled all my lessons, and I don't like canceling lessons, but I canceled all my lessons, and I raced home. And when I got home, my boys came out the room and they said, something is wrong with him. I'm not gonna say his name, but something is wrong with him. We don't know what's going on. And when I went into the garage, and there was a bag that he had hidden full of beer cans.
Oh, wow.
That I didn't know nothing about. And I opened up the garage door, and he was getting ready to fuss, like, close the door, like it was one of the kids. And he saw it was me, and he looked over at the beer cans and looked at me. And I'm like, so I just walked into the room, and he came in behind me, pants falling. And I told him, I closed the door. I told the boys, I said, y'all go play. Closed the door, and I said, this is it. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And his family would always talk about how with me, he was trying, he was doing things so differently, and the way that he was acting with me was a way he never acted with any other woman before. That would be the things that I would hang on to. And I remember that day he told me, he was like, you know what? He started cursing. The old me is coming back. The old me. And I literally watched this man's face shift into a person I had never seen. And he grabbed me. I'm a juicy girl. I'm not no little girl. He grabbed me, and he lifted me off my feet and began choking me.
Wow.
So much so I lost everything. And you know how in the end of a movie credits, how the screen goes like this and it turns into that dot? That's literally what happened. My children broke down my door.
Wow.
They said, my oldest son said that he couldn't hear me fussing anymore. And he heard the door. And And he said they kept pushing and they pushed and they pushed. And my babies, I call them my little heroes, they jumped on him. They did. They jumped on him. And he put his hands on my kids.
Wow.
And I was like, yeah, I was done before.
I'm really
kill
done
you now. Right? Wow. You about to die. You know what I mean? But I knew at that point I needed to get out. I needed to leave. And so it's so funny. It's comical. Now I make everything a joke. Even my little dog was like, oh no. My dog beat us in the car like, this man is crazy. Yeah. And so we ran. And what's amazing is the way my street is, it's like two ways like this, right? I was backing out and I was getting ready to dial 911. And as I was backing out the driveway, police car was coming like this. Wow. If the police car wasn't paying attention, they would have T-boned me.
Wow, wow. So just in the nick of time.
Literally, I didn't even call. Yeah. This is how you know God is there, right? Yeah. Because I didn't even call. Yeah. He was chasing us with a butcher knife. He had ran to the kitchen, got a knife. He was like, if I'm going back to jail, I'm going back to jail for something. Wow. And so, with that being said, that was my aha moment, like you would say. That was the moment. That was the best and worst day of my entire life. Yeah, yeah. Because it was the worst day because I experienced that and my kids saw that and they experienced it, right? But it was the best day because that's the day I never looked back. That was the day when I made a decision that I'm too good for this. Yeah, I made a decision that nobody deserves this. I made a decision that I've been nothing but been good to this person, and for them to treat me the way that they treated me because I was done, for them to do what they've done to me, whatever happens to them, happens to them. Wow. I have taken myself out of the equation and I let God handle that person. And I have never looked back. Wow, wow, wow. Mindset. Yes. So your mind changed. It shifted. One thing for me, and I think that this is one thing that I'm working on even now, is I can take a whole lot. But when you mess with my kids, you're done. What? You're done. What? Yeah. Because I didn't necessarily have that protection all the time. Right, right. And so for me, it was not even a question. It was a no-brainer. You don't get to put your hands on my children one time. Right. You know what I mean? And so that was that moment. I think that was what I needed, that fire to be ignited again. You know what I mean? And I was done. Oh, I was done. Yeah. And that's something we've heard a lot of victims who have been on the show. They've said, that they could take it, but when it happened to their children, they couldn't. And for those of you out there watching, we want you to know that you don't wait for it to happen to your children. That's right. Right? That you deserve better. You deserve better. Wow, Toni. And then so what? Then what? After that happened, now you've awakened, your mind shifted. What happened? What happened next? I got my life. You got your life back. I got my life. Not only that, but it forced me. Because see, one thing about myself is I'm very analytical of myself, and I'm always questioning myself for certain actions and certain things. Why did I do that? Why did I stay so long? Even in the midst of what I was going through, I knew I didn't belong there, and I knew it was only a matter of time. I don't know if you understand where I'm coming from. You're like, okay, yeah, I'm dealing with this, but it's only a matter of time. I'm not gonna be able to do this forever. And so what it did was it made me really take a true assessment of myself and take my own responsibility. Yeah. See, when we talk about being a victim and being an overcomer, it's two different things. Yes. When you're a victim, all you're talking about is what that person did, what they did to you, how it hurt you, you're internalizing everything, you are a victim, right? But when you're an overcomer, you're able to say, okay, yeah, they did this, but what did I do in return? How did I approach that situation? What could have I done better in that situation so that I don't find myself back in that situation? In that situation again, right? Yeah. That's how you overcome something. Yeah. You have to be honest with not only what happened to you, but you have to be honest in your reaction, right? In your approach, in those red flags that you ignored. All of those things that you said, I'm just gonna let it pass by. When you are being truthful with yourself and honest with yourself, you can overcome any obstacle. Any obstacle. Wow, wow, wow. Wow. And so now that you're honest with yourself, you're looking at the different obstacles. How did I get here? How did I contribute to this? And then now that I'm out of it,
What were the next steps? What did the children say to you?
Well, me and the kids talked a lot. And I asked them a lot of questions. Because what I realized is while I was trying to hold something together and build something for them, it was actually hurting them.
Yeah.
Right? And we talked about the good and we talked about the bad. You know, one of my children, they were saying how they missed him because of these things and those things, and very family oriented and stuff that we did and stuff like that, right? And I said, it's okay to miss that, right? It's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Instead of, no, you don't miss him. No, it's okay. Because that was the reason why I was with him. Obviously, he had some amazing qualities about him. There were some great qualities, right? But those were those other things that
were deal breakers.
That were deal breakers, absolutely. And so we talked a lot. And then I got into therapy. And then I got my kids into therapy.
Yeah. No, what you said is a mouthful, because there's still a stigma, right, in our community. And when I say our community, I'm talking about African American community as well as churchdom. You know, the church community, about therapy, about mental health. We're hitting so many nuggets here today.
Yes.
Let me just tell you that. And so you recognize, okay, there's something that I need to do to fix whatever is going on with the way I am processing, the way I am reacting, and the way that I love myself.
Yes.
And you went to therapy.
I did. Because what I needed to find was that little girl again.
Because we're still dealing with the broken little girl.
We're still
the little girl.
The broken little girl grew up into a broken woman.
Jesus. The broken little girl grew up into a broken woman. And there's so many people out there that never acknowledge that.
Yes.
They never acknowledge that. And then when you talk to them, they're still talking about what happened to them when they were 5 years old. The person that didn't love them, or the bully that messed with them, or whatever. And those things happen and they're real, but how do you go from it?
Right.
Where like, these things happened to me, but it didn't take me.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I was angry for a long time. I was angry at my mother. I was angry at my father. And then I had to come to a place where I'm like, you know, I understand now. I get it. You know what I mean? I get why she did what she did.
Yeah.
I understand what she was trying to do. And when you start to understand and you start to take yourself and deal with you, you'll find that you're able to give a lot more people grace. It doesn't mean that you give them an excuse for what happens, but you realize that they're just as human as you were.
Yeah.
Right? And so, or you are, I should say. And so therapy was great. And it still is great. I have a different therapist now. She is my very own Iyanla Fix My Life. She don't play with me. And that's what I needed.
Yeah.
I needed somebody that was going to hold me accountable. Everybody can't afford therapy, right? But there are resources that will help you. And even if it's just talking to somebody that's been through it before, or reaching out to some of these organizations like Families in Crisis, like Teach Them to Love Outreach Ministries, there are places that you can contact that can help hook you up with some people that can help you get out of where you are, right?
Yeah.
So then once you're out,
and not just a cheerleading squad.
Not just,
because that's one of the things that we talk about. When you're really looking to better yourself, you need true accountability partners.
Yep.
And when I talk about that, you know, you can have a cheerleading squad and all they're gonna do is cheer you on, whether you good or bad, they're just cheering you on. But then having true accountability squad where people say, like, you're going down the wrong path.
Right.
Or that's not a good idea. Or you need to slow your roll a little bit. Those are some real accountability.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so then I started doing some inward work. I started journaling more. I started thinking more. I started praying more. And then I said, you know, my relationship with God is not what it's supposed to be, right? So I started spending more time with God, right? Yeah. And then I just started allowing myself to be me. And that's the hardest thing.
Yeah. Because now that you know who she is, will everybody love her?
Will everybody like her? Will people respect? And then I started setting boundaries. So you start setting boundaries, right? Not just in your relationship, but in your work environment, in friendships, in business, and you start to set boundaries, and then people think you're changing. Well, I am changing. I'm changing, and I'm learning how to take care of Toni.
Yeah, I'm becoming.
No more just saying yes and not being able to deliver because I don't know how to say no.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
You said something that was so poignant just now when you talk about setting those boundaries in business. So your business, because when you got married and divorced, you were still running a business.
Yeah.
When you went into that toxic relationship,
Still running
you
a
were
business.
still running a business. So how did that affect, so we talked about the personal side, how did that affect your business life?
I would definitely say that there were some times that in between clients, I definitely boo-hooed.
Yeah.
Definitely cried. There were some times where I've had to, rearrange lessons, cancel lessons. And, I'm sure people at the time were just thinking that I was just blowing them off, not realizing that I was in the closet because I couldn't pick myself up.
Yeah.
And I had to get myself together because I said, you know what, this is my children's livelihood. And I've got to give myself an opportunity to grow. The pandemic was a blessing for me because that was probably when the pandemic hit, it was maybe about a year after that. But it was a time where I was able to really start to deal with things for real.
Wow.
Because all of 2019, that happened March of 2019. For the rest of 2019, I was just kind of coasting. But at the same time, I was doing all of these things. Like I released Shine, and we did the music video, and it charted, and all those amazing things were happening. But it was because it was a moment where I was finally free again. But at the same time, there was still a lot of things that I needed to deal with.
Yeah.
And so the pandemic caused everything to shut down. And at that point, you had to deal with the pain.
Yeah.
You had no choice now because you don't have anything to run to. You don't have another play to do or a movie to shoot or a video to make or a studio to be in.
You are in your house.
Sit down. And I still found something to do because I became a realtor.
You became a realtor. You found another career. You found
I know how to sit down.
In which you're doing very well in as well.
Yes,
which you're doing. So it seems like whatever you put your hands to, God blesses it. Because the favor of God has always been on you.
Yeah.
And that's something I want you to realize out there. When God's favor is on you and you're going through your valleys and your dark moments, his favor doesn't leave you.
Yep.
He's just waiting for you to get into that proper alignment so that he can continue to bless you. And just go through it.
Yeah.
Go through it. Because yes, the Bible says that that no weapon formed against you shall prosper, but guess what? He doesn't say the weapon's not going to come.
Right.
He says that they won't prosper, but you have to be in proper alignment with God. That means, what is your prayer life looking like? What is your worship life looking like? Right? Just to ensure, because that's what you said you had to go back to.
Absolutely.
And recognizing, and you also had to slow down.
Slow down.
Slow down and really practice that self-care. Really
and self-care is not just getting your nails done, even though obviously I like to get my nails done. It's not, putting on the cute hairstyle and the makeup and all of that. That's all cool.
That's all good too.
That's good. But self-care is being completely vulnerable and honest with yourself and then coming up with strategies and plans to help you become a better you.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's something that I'm constantly working on. As a matter of fact, because I wear so many hats, one of the things that I told myself that I'm doing is I'm going to take a moment to sit down and I'm going to give myself a 30-day plan and I'm doing a strict schedule. And this schedule is going to include things like self-care.
Yeah.
It's going to include times when it's just me and God. It's going to include times where I strategize for my business. I do my real estate, understanding that I have to make me the priority, right? And so we're taught often that, you're selfish when you think about yourself, when you learn to put, of course, God is always first, but when you learn to put yourself first, right? And take care of you. No, you're not being selfish because when you are the best you, when you are the best you, you're going to be the best you for everyone else.
For everyone else, yeah.
So important.
You cannot be the best broken you.
You can't, man.
You can't be the best.
You cannot.
Yeah.
And the sooner you realize that, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah. So what motivates you now? Because now you're on the other side, right? You're on the other side where you have recognized who you are. You found your voice again. And so what motivates you now?
Helping others.
Wow. Okay. Talk to me about that.
So there's a book that I started reading, and it's, can't even think of the name of it. I think it's like the Power Paradox or something like that, right? And it talks about how our greatest power is the ability to encourage and inspire others.
Yeah.
I'm at my best when I'm helping. Whether it's doing the summer camps for the T. Ringgold Academy of Arts, whether it's helping someone find a home that they love, whether it's being an encouraging ear to one of my friends, whether it's writing that song that I know is going to be an inspiration to someone else, I'm at my best when I'm helping others. And I realized that those were the things that I've always wanted to do. In kindergarten, they said, what did you want to be when you grow up? I said, I wanted to be a teacher and I wanted to be a singer. My goal in life is to take every piece of my experience and to share it with others so that they can realize that our experiences are much similar and they can take that same piece and grow from it and then share with someone else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that truly, honestly, is not even a cliche answer, it's the truth.
Yeah.
I'm at my best and I'm inspired by helping others.
Awesome. I know that you just had a summer camp. Talk to us about Camp Art.
Woo! Lord, let me tell y'all. So it's such a blessing to see the growth because this camp was held at my facility.
She has her own facility, by the way, but keep on going.
Right, and so that's cool for me, you know. It was held at T. Ringgold Academy of Arts, and we did the littles, so ages 6 to 11 this past week. Whew. Listen, those little people will run you. We had a great time. We did voice, we did songwriting, we did acting, and the kids just had a blast. And so in July 19th through the 23rd, we're going during our teenagers. And that camp is going to be very different. We're having an audio producer come in and teach them how to make and create their own beats.
Oh, wow.
We're gonna do singing, songwriting, and a bunch of other things too. So I'm excited about that one as well. And that's gonna be, like I said, in July 19th to the 23rd.
Awesome, awesome. So what's next on the horizon for Toni Ringgold?
Well, I actually just signed a 5-song EP.
Wow, okay.
With a platinum producer. So I'm getting ready to be traveling. I'll be traveling a lot to Houston, where he is located, and start working on my EP. I am expanding the business. Grooming someone to take over my location, Parker Heights, and gosh, just stay tuned. Stay tuned.
So stay tuned. She has a lot.
I have a lot up my sleeve, and I'm excited to roll it out over the next year.
Amen. 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 And real estate.
Yeah. So real estate is real estate. It's real. Okay. We are in a true seller's market. So it is really, really crazy right now. The market is just crazy. But I will tell you, real estate has been it's been a big blessing for me. I've learned so much being a realtor. And then it's financially.
Yeah.
It's definitely
financially freeing.
Absolutely.
Awesome. 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 Well, we have been talking to Toni Ringgold of T. Ringgold Academy. Did I say that right?
T. Ringgold Academy of Arts.
T. Ringgold Academy of Arts. You can find her at toniringgold.biz, toniringgold.biz. And again, we've been talking to her about overcoming. You heard her challenges from childhood to adulthood. And you have something big on the horizon. Your daddy.
Yes.
Your dad. And like she said earlier, her dad was incarcerated when you were 18 months old. And you will meet him face to face.
Yeah.
In person for the first time. When?
In the next couple of weeks. We're just waiting any day now for his release.
Okay. What does that feel like to you?
I don't even know how to put it in words.
Yeah.
I really don't. I told him we're gonna do everything. Don't you cry, because if you cry, you're
I'm not gonna cry. I'm not.
Don't you
I'm
cry.
Such a big baby.
We don't have
oh my
no
God.
tissue up in here.
There's no tissue.
No. I don't even know.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was gonna happen. Yeah, 75 years.
Wow.
So, quit looking at me.
Yeah, I won't look at you.
Yeah.
Well, we know that she is going to meet with her dad, so you can.
We're gonna do everything, girl.
We're gonna do everything.
I said you better have your strength up, because you're gonna push me on the swing. We're doing first day of school all over again. I said, like, we're going to McDonald's. I'm playing on the play skate. We're doing everything. You know, my daddy said that he avoided watching all Disney movies because, you know, in where he was, there's TV and different things like that, and you know the Disney movies would come on, and he would always go back to his cell because he said one day he wanted to watch those with me.
Wow.
So we're gonna watch all the Disney movies. You know they got Disney Plus now, girl. So we're watching everything. But and then my kids, they're so excited.
Yeah.
And he has managed through these years to be, you know, he's always been a big supporter of mine. He made, you know, things for me to sell so that I can have money. He's an amazing leather craftsman. And he spoils his grandchildren from in there. I don't even understand how it's possible. Yeah. But if they want something, he makes it happen.
Yeah.
And so he's excited about being able to be there. He tells me all the time, I wasn't able to be there for you, but I want to be there for the grandkids. And so they're excited about having him, and he's excited about coming home. So
Amen. Amen. Toni, thank you so much for sharing your experience and your journey and your story with us here on Overcomers Talk. You truly are an overcomer. You've been faced with so many obstacles, yet you continue to smile and shine. She has a song called Shine, y'all. You continue to smile. And there's a saying that you always say. Please give us that saying, Toni.
There's enough sun in the sky for everyone to shine.
Say it again. That's your camera right there.
There is enough sun in the sky for everyone to shine.
Amen. So make sure that you continue to shine. And no matter what obstacles you may face in your life, no matter what dark past you have had, everybody has the opportunity to get up. Yes. I know it's hard and I know it's difficult. The first step is telling yourself the truth. Where are you at this time? Listen, there's a cloud of witnesses in the Bible and all over the world that have made it through just amazing obstacles in their life, yet they have continued to soar. So I would just implore you to continue to soar, continue to live your purpose-filled life. Don't give up. Don't give up on yourself, and make sure you have true accountability partners and accountability friends. Yes. More than just cheerleaders or naysayers. Truly have people around you who will support you, who will correct you, who will uplift you, and who will love you. Toni, again, thank you so much for being here. This is Minister Carrie Ann Frazier, and this has been Overcomers Talk. We will not record live next week because it is the 4th of July. So in observance of the holiday, we will not be recording on the 4th. But do join us on July 11th. Once again, we'll be talking about the men who testified, and you heard their stories. They will be joined by their wives as the wives share some of the testimonies of their husband and the things that they had to overcome and how they kept their families together. I have been your host, Minister Carrie Ann Zamore, signing off for Overcomers Talk.